we can now begin to move into our interactive section of the carpentry workshop. So I will just go back to sharing my screen again. Sorry if there's any construction noise outside. So the first exercise is going to be done in groups.
So the first exercise Victoria was saying is going to be done in breakout rooms, and I will create 3 breakout rooms and split you inside it. And it's going to be a discussion about the open science framework. So being open, I will read now the slide. Being open has other outcome consequence beyond giving the free access to information. For example, open education resources enables collaborative development of courses and improves teaching and instructor skills by sharing ideas. And this is exactly what's happening here, because actually the course we are running was originally developed by the University of Edinburgh, and in particular a team led by Thomas Zelensky. So in these breakout rooms, you should select one or two of the following open science parts: open access, open data, open software, open notebooks, and open peer review, and discuss what are the benefits or what problems are solved by adaptation of these initiatives. You should also try to capture the discussion you're having inside the notes, but this is something that we as helpers can do. So we're the helpers, we're going to join your breakout rooms and eventually keep track of the discussion. Okay, having said so, I need to go back to assigning you to breakout rooms. So unless Victoria has something to add, I will open the breakout room in a sec.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah. Great, thank you so much for coming back to the main room. So our group discussed open software, and what was discussed was that the importance that open software brings is that it allows reproducibility and collaboration improvements, and that you also support open development. A key thing here is accessibility and reusability, so that you can reuse the code. And so this also supports other aspects like interoperability, so that your software can connect to other software. And we all think that if you have open source software, the quality of your code can improve over time, and that this supports future and ongoing development. So I don't know if anyone wants to talk about open data from room 3.
So I was the helper there, but I was kind of hoping that some participants would. Nope. Okay, so we just discussed open data, and we mentioned the benefits that like large access to data to improve science in general. We mentioned the fact that open data is very useful for newcomers to the field because they have toy data sets, even, and this also contributes to improving science. We mentioned the importance of metadata and specifying the parameters and the equipment details. So in order to enable everyone to reproduce the experiment as it was run. And we mentioned there's problems or things that one should be aware of before or while sharing their data, like the legal aspect of this, or the fact that you need to have a plan for the work, because it's still some work still related to an effort, and the ethical issues that might be related to that. And then we briefly mentioned about the open access, that it can help you in sparing time because everything is already there. You don't really need to wait for someone to buy the paper or to contact the PI or anything like that. And then we briefly discussed the fact that both the participants involved in the discussion, they share their data and software. That was it from room 3.
Yeah, thanks. So in the interest of time, I'll just briefly go over the room 2 one as well. So they also talk about open data, and for benefits, it was mentioned that data is reusable. And then the challenge is that there could be commercial use or abuse that's unintended by the authors. But actually, soon we'll talk about licensing and how you can possibly license your data so that you protect yourself from commercial reuse if that's of interest. So I'll just switch back to our slides again and talk a little bit more about motivators for open science. So there could be many different motivators for open science for you personally or for your organization. So these are just some examples that we pulled also from the course material. So the first one actually I added, which is that there are many urgent and necessary global health issues and planetary concerns that open science is key for all of us to solve. So one example is that EMBL EBI last year, or sorry, in 2020, has launched this COVID-19 data portal that allowed researchers to share COVID-19 research data. And this is instrumental for us in our COVID-19 research. Other aspects that's super important is, of course, climate change research. And the second main point is reproducibility. And it's often talked about that there's a reproducibility crisis, that annually we have 1,500 articles that are retracted, and it's a 40-fold increase since 2000. That is incredible, and it cannot continue like this. So open science, open sharing of data and code can help us combat this reproducibility crisis. The next one is actually money. So we should consider that there are moral objectives are associated with doing research and what's going on right now with the research publication process. So charities, taxpayers pay for funding research. Then they have to pay again to access the research that has already been funded. So if you think about that, it makes no sense to pay twice to access public knowledge, public research. So scientific outputs that are generated that are funded by public should be a public good, and everyone should be able to access and use them at no cost. However, that's just not the case at the moment. So it's estimated that Europe spends 10.2 billion euros a year on accessing science. And the last one is, of course, interesting to all academics, is that if you share data and share your code and share other types of research output in addition to the paper, then we can look at research assessment in a more fair and transparent way, meaning that we can look beyond journal impact factor and really look at the science for what it is and your contribution to your community by how open you are. This allows a broader assessment for all researchers. And so currently publishers produce impact analysis and university ranking that decide who gets hired and who gets funded. So these aspects hopefully can be taken back to the community if we share research and publish in ways that are more open and transparent. So after this brief overview, there are, of course, many other reasons to do open science. There's an exercise included in the course. Sorry, that's actually down the line where we can talk about your personal reason for doing open science. But meanwhile, the course included a great example of successful open access campaign. So this is, I don't know if many of you have heard about Plan S. So Plan S is basically a movement that started by many European research funders that mandated that as of 2021, that all research should be published open access without embargo. And here are some of the guidelines for that. So authors should retain their copyright to their publications, and that all publications be published with an open license, which we will talk about later in the course today. And also open access fees should be paid by the research organization or the funders, but not by individual researchers. So these open access fees really can be quite a lot. So they can be ranging anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 US dollars at the moment. So funders will also monitor compliance and non-compliance for those who receive grants. And also they commit to, when assessing research outputs, that they will value the work altogether and not consider only the publication channel, not only the journal that it's published in. So very much like Coalition S and Plan S, EMBL, we also have similar implementations when it comes to publications that they must be published open access as well. So so from the funders and research institution, this thinking and this direction has already been in place. And so we will need more of the practical side and actual adoption of these policies. So next we can then move towards talking a bit more about the personal benefits of open science. So I think this we can do in the main room. We don't need to go into the breakout rooms. If you just want to read some of these personal benefits, and I can copy them over actually to the notepad. If you want to, you can just add a +1 to those that are most important for you. And for those that are at least important to you, you can mark them with a 0. So I haven't done this yet, so just give me a minute to copy this over to the to our shared pad. So let's go to here. Oh, I should probably put these in point form. So we have 4 minutes to do this. So, oops.
Don't worry, Victoria, I can
restyle
it.
Thank you so much.
In the meantime, you have a question in the chat, I think, or a hint for the discussion too.
Sure. Yeah. In the FAIR principle, does not require all data to be open, like medical data. Yeah. Does it apply the same principle to research software, or should it be open? As far as I understand, different principles can be applied to software and data when going FAIR. Yeah, I think that is the case. So for sensitive data, like medical data, personal data, this, I think there needs to be proper procedure and ethics when considered. So when handling these cases, I think it's important to talk to the specific experts in your institutes. And I think there are specific guidelines for private and secure data. And as far as research software is slightly different. When it comes to research software, I think sometimes it matters if you're collaborating with an industry collaborator or there are other intellectual property issues that are involved there. But I think otherwise you can make it completely open. With FAIR data, I think sometimes it's important to be mindful of what type of data it is and if there's privacy issues involved. Okay. So with this exercise, what you can do is just add a +1 to your top motivators and add zeros to your least interesting motivators.
In case you don't know how to edit this part, please use one of the 2 buttons on the top left. The one with the small pencil-like button will enable edit mode, while the one with the 2 columns will enable both edit mode on one side and the view on the other. If it's not clear how to interact with the pad, please tell us and we can maybe show you.
I think that should be plenty of time. So let's take a look at what our top results. I think some of our favorites are definitely get extra value from your work by finding collaborators and reused by others to see that your data be used in more than one way. And another one that seems to be a leader is forum community. So of course, you can find others who are interested in open source and open science, who all think that science should be more of a public and freely shared.